What's going on, everybody? This is Scott, also known as ChaChingKing, and today in this video we're going to talk about what it takes to take very nice professional looking photos for eBay using nothing more than your phone. So let's go ahead and dive right in. The first thing I want to talk about is how important it is to take good photos. You've all heard the saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. That is never more true than on eBay. When buyers are scrolling, they're going to take 1 or 2 seconds to look at a photo, and they're either going to open it or they're going to move on. So your initial photo is critical to getting buyers into your listing. Also, your photos are the #1 way for you to communicate exactly what it is that you're selling. And great photos can separate you from all of the junk that's out there. People that are using 1 or 2 stock photos, maybe none at all of the actual product they're selling. So the first thing to remember with photos is they are really, really important to you selling your item. So let's talk about the equipment and the setup. And the reality of it is if you have a phone that's made in the last few years, it's going to take a pretty good picture. Just the features in eBay alone are really good at cleaning up photos. There are a few things you're going to need. First, you're going to need a phone. All of the pictures of products that I'm going to show you, I'm going to take with this phone right here. For equipment and setup, you're not going to need much at all. I'm going to show you 3 different backgrounds. I've got one that's a beadboard. You could use a plain wall. I'm going to throw it on my floor. Mine are stained concrete, but it would work just as well if you had wood or a plain rug. And then I'm also going to take pictures on the foam core board. And outside of that, some natural lighting. That's all I'm going to use for these photos. In order for my photos to look good, I need to make sure the items that I'm photographing are properly prepared, which means that you either need to, if you're doing clothing, you either need to throw it in the dryer for a minute to take the wrinkles out, or you need to steam it. I don't do any ironing. Also, you need one of these right here. I can't tell you how much I use a lint roller. When you take pictures, you want to show the best and the worst of your item, not just the best. So getting rid of some of the worst will, in the end, help you have a better item for the listing. Now, as far as composition and framing goes, this is much more simple on eBay than it would be for, say, product photography or for a magazine. Your item needs to be photographed square. That means it's 1 by 1. And every phone, every modern phone has a setting for 1 by 1. It's going to be square mode on eBay. So if you can take it in square mode, you'll have a better idea of exactly what that item is going to look like in your listing. Another important part about taking your photos is to not leave things out. For, say, a shirt, there are certain things I would want to show. Obviously, I want to show the whole front and the whole back. If it's a t-shirt, I want to show the collar. I want to show whether or not it's single stitch or double stitch. I want to show the tags. Tags are incredibly important for people that are buying clothes. I also want to show every single cool detail. If they've got buttons with names on them, or if there's a really, really interesting fabric pattern, I want to show that, and I want to show it clearly. In addition to showing the very best the item has to offer, I want to show the worst. If there's a flaw, if there's something that I need to point out, I want to make really sure that it shows up. The last thing I want to do is to have a sale and I knew something was wrong and I just didn't show it so that it would sell. That's not fair to the buyer. And I don't want to do that, not just because I don't want to return or negative feedback, but I want my buyer to know exactly what they're buying. Whether or not you hear back from a buyer, it's still really important that you sell the buyer exactly what they were expecting. As far as lighting techniques go, I'm not using additional lighting because I want to show you what it'll look like just in a natural environment. In my living room, my door has a little window. I've got one window, but I'll have the mini blinds closed. When I photograph with the foam core board, it's going to be just an overhead light. All of the places that I'm going to be photographing, it's just going to be the overhead light and whatever natural light filters in. So the key is to not create a shadow on your product when you're taking your photographs. So natural light will almost always beat artificial light. Here's another trick for your phone. Occasionally go through and eliminate some of the old photos. If you just keep them all on your phone, it's going to clog up your phone, and I don't care how much memory you have. And it makes it harder to find the pictures that you just took. As far as operating your phone, get rid of some of the old photographs. You'll thank me that you did. When you're taking a picture with your smartphone, usually if you touch the item that you're trying to focus on, it'll focus on that part. And where that's important is, let's say that you've got a cracked button on a shirt and the shirt's plaid, so the phone is trying to focus on everything, but I get the button in the center of my photograph and then I tap that and it'll focus right on the button. And I think that's really, really important that you know to do that. It'll save you a lot of time and a lot of blurry photographs where it didn't quite show what you wanted to show. One of the other things that you want to do with your photograph, and this is similar to your composition, is to remember that for some things like overalls, when you back way up on overalls, it's going to make a long, narrow photograph that you can't focus in on anything. So sometimes I will use a program like InShot where I will make my first photograph be a collage, where I can have the long picture, but I take advantage of all this dead space. I only do that for the first photograph, and sometimes if I've got a complicated item like overalls, I might have my photograph, I might use a collage when I'm showing the measurements. That's far less important now that eBay allows you to have so many photographs. In the past, a lot of times I would use a collage for my measurements, but if I'm photographing measurements now, usually there's enough room. But just remember that when you back up, a lot of times you're going to end up with long, narrow photographs or a horizontal photograph. And for my first photograph, I will use something like InShot to make a more enticing opening photograph for that listing. Another app that I do like, that I do use, is one called Photo Room. I don't use it for everything, but what Photo Room does for me is it allows me to get rid of the background. I don't always want to do that because I feel like when you go through and you eliminate the background on things, that it's doing some things that potentially might cover up something great or cover up a flaw. So I really only use it to make that very crisp and clear first photograph, because I don't want to alter the other photographs much at all. So, but Photo Room is really, really good at cleaning up photographs. So I do like that program. And that, which brings us to editing and enhancements for photos. Like, I don't do a lot of that. I will make sure that first photo is as eye-catching as humanly possible. I want that to be the photograph that brings them into my listing. My other photographs, I want clarity. I want to tell the story of whatever item the piece I have is. So I'm not going to highly edit those. I will zoom, I will crop, but I don't want to change the colors. I don't want to do anything that takes away from exactly what that item is. I want the buyer to know exactly what they're going to get. The next step would be multiple angles and showing the details. For example, if I'm going to photograph a hat, I'm going to have one from the front. I'm going to have one from the right side, one from the left side, one from the back, one from the top. I'm going to flip it over. I've got one of the underbill. I've got it where the underbill and the sweatband attach. I back up. I've got a whole picture of it. If there's a strap back, I show that. I show all the tags. So even though it's only a hat, I can very, very quickly have 12 photos. Very quickly, and maybe more. So I like to do that, but honestly, I don't think that takes me much longer than taking 3 photos. I already have it there. I already have the lighting set up. My phone is already set up, and I already know what pictures I'm going to take. So if you would like to see a video in the future of what my standard photos are for the different types of items that we list, I'd be happy to do that. Leave a comment below, and we'll work on doing one of those, because I could show you what we do for t-shirts, overalls, a purse, pair of shoes, hats, a wide variety of things, and give you a list of exactly which photos we take, if that's something you would be interested in. What I would like to encourage you to do is, before you get ready to do that first listing, is to try it. Take one item and try it in a few different places, and gauge how long it takes you to set that space up to be ready for photographs. Because if it takes you 15 or 20 minutes to get ready to photograph, you're not going to work like you need to work. So you need a place that you can either leave set up or have ready to go very, very quickly, that you already know that it has the type of lighting that you need. The first photograph, enticing and accurate. All of the other photographs, accuracy. Accuracy is king. I want them to know exactly what they're getting. So experiment with a few different shots and see what you like. Taking photographs for eBay, in my opinion, has gotten much, much easier and more accurate over the years. We now have phones that are really, really incredible. We have phones that can take really great photographs. And eBay allows us to put so many more photographs in our listing that we can show all of the things that we need to show. You do not need to be afraid of the photography portion of selling on eBay. In fact, I think that it's easier and better than it has ever been. That's it for this video. I really appreciate you watching. I'm going to see you real soon on the next one. Bye.